Stucco is
Okay.
porous. It does, no matter what you do, they'll always let water in.
It'll always let water in. It's a reservoir system, so the water has to get out, but the airflow also has to get in. That's known as your reservoir system. Now, the most important part of your whole system, it doesn't matter if you have stone in your house or brick or stone or stucco. The most important part is the water management system. Now, to do the water management system correctly, the windows have to get removed and reinstalled and be fully integrated with the water management system in your home. The water management system itself is, I'm talking about your paper system and your flashing system behind the stucco. Now, what you should have is you have your sheathing, you should have your paper system. The technical term is WRB, which means weather resisted barrier. You're meant to have a 1/2-inch drainage mat. That's your water channel. So you know that the stucco's porous, it gets in, it hits the drainage mat, it runs down the drainage mat and back out via the weepscreed system. The water should never get to the sheathing or the particle board or OSB that you talked about earlier. Now, when we spoke at the start, you said you had replaced a few of the windows. My concern there is, now you know the water gets in. Sometimes it can damage the sheathing, but it can also be absorbed by the window frames, and that's your headers on what your window's sitting in. If the frames have absorbed that much moisture, then they need to get replaced. They could be damaged also. The reason I'm concerned is when you said you put in new windows or replace the windows, those replacement windows is only the sash, the glass part of the window that they replaced. If they put in a new window, it means they had to cut the stucco, which I'm assuming they didn't do, put the windows in.
They did not do that.
So if they didn't do that, you only really have the glass replaced, which is the sash, a replacement window. But for years, if the stucco's been taking on that much moisture, now the frame's rotted out. Now your replacement window doesn't fit. A new window's meant to have a flange on it and it gets installed. If I have to take that out, you have no flange, you only have the glass, and we don't want to put that glass inside an old frame. So there's a high likelihood that the windows may have to get replaced. Now, how old's the home, James?
It was built in 1998, so I guess it's about, 24 years now?
So the life expectancy of a window is 20 to 25 years. So you're at that point now to get it done. So the time to do it's now, because you're going to have to take all off of the stucco. The labour's already included. So say your windows were new windows were put in 10 years ago. The labour's we could put those windows back in. You're not in that position, but the labour to remove and reinstall is already at my price. Whether you put in a new window or an old window, but you're just responsible for the price of the new windows. So once that window is fully integrated, when it gets installed again, we have to put in what's called a sill pan flashing underneath the windows, which in high likelihood you don't have now. That's a piece of metal that goes up the wall underneath the window and back up again. That creates a back dam, because if you put in $100 window or $1,000 window, we don't care. That window at some point in time will leak. The systems we put in capture that moisture and dump it back into your water management system again. So that's key, that the windows get removed, get reflashed, and get reinstalled as part of your system. Now, do you know what the soffits and fascia of your home are?
The soffit?
Do you know what soffits and fascia are?
Well, that's the part that sticks out over top, right?
Yeah. So this part here is soffit, and this piece of metal is called fascia.
Okay.
Now, for us to do your house correctly, the soffits and fascia have to get removed off the house. And the reason being is the code book states that the first layer of paper, your water management system, your WRB, goes to the top of your wall. Where the stucco stops here at the fascia and the soffit, that's not the top of your wall. You've got another 6 to 8 inches of wood or sheathing in behind those soffits. So if I only cut the stucco and give you 20 layers of new paper, it won't matter. Because if you get a thunderstorm like we had recently, or a heavy wind-driven rain that you're talking about, the nor'easters, the water can get back in again and behind the paper system. Now you're back to square one. So it's imperative that the soffits and fascia come down. I get my first layer of paper to the top of your wall, and then we go back with our new stucco system again. So in any proposal I give you, you're going to see a price for new soffits, fascia, gutters, and downspouts. the gutters and downspouts, we want to replace with a 6K gutter and downspouts because we want to take that water, the volume of water, and move it away from the house. Plus, you don't want to look at a new house with new stucco, new windows, new soffits, and your gutter and downspouts will be 20 years old. So you'll see a line item for soffits, fascia, gutters, and downspouts. Another important part is, again, I have no pictures of your house, but whenever you're standing inside your house, James, you're always standing 12 inches of wood. That's the beams that your house was built on. So you take, for example, your front door, your front stoop. Typically, you're only stepping down 8 or 9 inches. That tells me there's 4 or 5 inches of raw wood buried behind your stoop. So in order for me to, so for years, now I know the stucco's porous, it gets in, it travels down the wall. It has nowhere to get out. So what the moisture does is it starts to delaminate your rim board. That's that structured piece of wood below your door. So we're going to have to cut the stoop, access that wood, and replace it if necessary. So that'll, all this will be highlighted in any proposal that I send you.
Well, that's a big bunch of concrete under the door there. So the good news is it's already starting to pull away from the house. So you should have a problem.
Well, I don't need to take out all the concrete. I need to cut back 12 inches to access the wood, and then I'll pour the concrete back in. And so you're not looking at a patch of concrete. We will we'll put a nice new flagstone on top of it. So say for this isn't the price, but say your stoop's all concrete. If I take it out and put it back in, it's $100. If I cut it, make my fix, patch it, and put a flagstone on there, it's $95. So it's actually cheaper and you get a better finished look.
Mm. Well, keep in mind, you're talking about 4 or 5 feet of concrete, but if you only have to do the top part, that's fine.
I only need to cut 12 inches back to access that wood.
Actually, is there I'm just trying to think, maybe there's something there now that's already sort of a good point to cut already, but I'll have to take a second look at it.
And just to give you another example of that, here's another back door. You now know there's 12 inches there. You're only stepping down an inch here before you hit this platform. So I know that there's 10 or 11 inches of wood below this door. So we'll get to the process of taking off the stucco, and then we'll talk about when we put it back together again. So when the stucco comes off with the scaffold built, we actually, instead of jackhammering the stucco, we're trying to minimize vibrations in your home. So we'll cut it in 1 to 2 foot increments, and we actually pry it back again to minimize the vibrations inside your home. Now, when the stucco will come off, the paper will come off, then you're left with whatever sheathing you have, whether it's the particle board, the plywood, or the OSB. I don't know because I have no report, but we'll find out whenever it comes off. As part of my proposal, in the base price, I'm going to include 30% of replacement sheathing. So if you have a 3,000 square foot home, we'll give you 1,000 square foot already included in the base price. Now, sometimes we go over that. Just depends on what we find when the stucco comes off. If we go over it, it's not that expensive to replace the sheathing. However, what I can't price, or what no other contractor can price, is if the water penetrates through the sheathing, it can then start to cause damage to the 2x4s and 2x6s in your home. We don't know that yet until the stucco comes off. Because I can't price that right now, that's priced at time material. So take below this window, for example. You can see the damage here below the wall. Now it has penetrated to the 2x6s in the house. If it takes 2 carpenters 3 hours to fix that area, then you'll just pay for their time and material. Again, I don't know what's there. You don't know what's there, and the inspector doesn't know until the stucco comes off.
Well, I think I can make a pretty darn good guess.
Yeah.
And that damaged part there, you're going to see that all around the windows on that side. You're going to see it all around where the door is. So I would, if you want to get ahead of it, I would say it's going to be at least 50 to 70%, if not 100%, having to do all that stuff.
And sometimes
I don't know about the 2x4s, but like I said,
definitely the sheathing.
Yeah, there's probably going to be stacky botchers in there too. So make sure you guys wear your N95 masks, if not something better, because it's going to be a mess.
Okay.
I feel it in my heart that's going to be the situation.
Yeah. But just again, to show you on the stoops that we briefly spoke about, and why I cut out the stoops. That's below that door. So for years, the water gets in, it can't get out. So now it's starting to cause the structural issues to the rim board. So there's no point going to this extent to fix your home and leaving in the stoop. We want to follow the water in. We want to expose all the wooden structure of the house. And if the damage is there, we're going to find it. At this point, a lot of people ask me, is this mold? But this isn't mold. This is just deteriorated sheathing and deteriorated lumber over time. You had mentioned mold briefly. The mold always shows up on the backside of your sheetrock. So once we take off the stucco, at a very minimum, the first 4 feet around the perimeter of your house, we're going to take off that sheathing, roll up the insulation, and we're going to inspect your wall cavity where the sheetrock meets the 2x6, because sometimes the water penetrates through the sheathing, causes no damage, but can run down the backside, lay stagnant in that wall cavity. Now that you've created the environment for mold to grow. And we don't find this in every job, 5 to 10% of jobs, but I want to make you aware of it. So this is mold. So if we find this, James, we'll call our mold expert in. I'm not seeing you there. I just want to let you know that this can happen. Once we call the mold expert in, he'll come out and identify what kind of molecule it is, because sometimes it can be harmful to your health. We will never attempt, yes, we'll never attempt to clean this, because you can only clean what you see. However, if there's mold where this 2x6 meets the sheetrock, you'll never get rid of it all. So based on that, when mold experts come out, we may have to go inside the home, build a containment wall, which is your temporary wall with plastic on it. We'll remove the sheetrock, and then we're going to have to bring in the air scrubbers, but and completely decontaminate the area. The reason the containment wall's there is we don't want to spread those molecules throughout the rest of your HVAC system. Again, it doesn't always happen, but it can happen. Here's an example of plywood coming off. Now look at this house is 12 years old. The water's got through. Now this is 2x6 damage. Before I priced this job, there's no way that anybody could have knew about this. But this is what can sometimes happen. And as I mentioned previously, this will be priced at time and materials.
It looks very similar to the picture I took in the inside when the window was out.
Yeah. The reason I brought up the stone, James, at the start is everybody thinks it's just a stucco issue, but probably one of the most important things you learned today is that stucco is made out of cement. Cement's porous. Now, stone and brick products themselves, they're not porous. However, if you look at all the mortar joints in between the stone and the stone that you have, they're all made out of cement. So they allow in the same amount of water as the stucco does. So that's the reason I bring it up. And that's behind the stone. You find the same damage. So it's just
worth
not
taking a look at, but I'm a little less worried about that because the water never really hits the stone the way the house is positioned. And we do have a big overhang over it too. So in the times we do, the water just goes, it's very difficult for the water to hit the stone.
What's above the overhang?
A little small roof and then another window. So if it did come down,
is there any more wall though? There's more wall.
Oh yeah, no, there's stucco above it. Absolutely.
So you just remember,
they may not be all that lined up though.
The water starts at the top.
Sure.
So it's getting in behind the stucco, it's running down in to the stone area.
Okay. Well, no, I mean, absolutely take a look at it. I suppose I'm being a little on the hopeful side, but
I know, I know. But and again, it's important to us as a company. I don't want to tell you what you want to hear to get a job.
Yeah, I want to cover all your bases. I get it.
I want to tell you what has to get done to bring you up to today's current codes, because the most important thing we offer you as a company is a 10-year personal warranty. So anything we do in your house, James, it's covered. And that's not a manufacturer's warranty or a product warranty. That's directly from Advanced Plastering. So we need to get your house up to today's codes in order for us to offer you that. So that's right. As you said, we cover everything.
Okay, cool.
Once that first 4 feet comes off around the perimeter and roll up the insulation, if there's mold there, we'll find it. We apply what's called a Foster's microbial fungicide pink. Now, this is a chemical that kills mold and prevents mold from ever growing in this environment again. The water should never ever get to that point again, but it's a preventative measure that we put in the wall cavities on the first 4 feet. You don't have a chimney, do you?
We do after a fashion.
Okay.
It's a gas fireplace.
Okay. The reason I mentioned it, most chimneys, and again, I have no report to go on, but most chimneys, the chimney wall goes up like this, and then you have the cap of your chimney. Now, majority of times, those chimney caps aren't big enough. So what we actually do is, if you have a chimney there, we'll extend the chimney cap 6 to 8 inches, then put on a stainless steel powder coated chimney cap. The reason we extend it is we want the water, the snow, the rain to fall away from the chimney. If it's like this, it just runs right down the chimney and causes huge damage to the chimney wall. So again,
I don't know if it goes all the way up. For some reason in the back of my head, I'm thinking we have some kind of a steel thing that comes out a little higher. I don't know if it goes all the way up to the roof or not.
Well, if you need it, I'll include it in the bid, and I'll see that when I measure the home.
All right.
I'll check the chimney out.
Yeah. Are you guys doing all this work? I recently had a contractor come up and like slice all the backs of the bushes, because the bushes were getting crazy.
Okay.
But you know, it's like a foot away. But you guys need to get any of that stuff out of the way to do your work? Because it doesn't actually matter to me, because as far as I'm concerned, I have no problem replacing all the bushes.
If you don't love it, and it's in our way, we can get rid of it, but we can work around a lot of stuff. We generally need 36 inches back from the wall to do our job. Some of that bigger stuff can be tied back easily enough.
Okay.
It's the smaller stuff which is more concerning, and that's only because it gets damaged by the foot traffic moving up and down the walls, like little plants and little bushes. But the bigger stuff can usually be tied back. Again, before the job would start, we would do a walkabout review and check it out.
And figure out what
if it's something you love, we recommend your landscaper removes it and saves it for you. If it's in the way and needs to be removed, but you don't care about it, we'll dump it for you. No problem.
Yeah, like I said, it's one of those things where it got big, and then when you cut it back, and it looks awful because it's always on the outside, it's never on the inside, and then it takes forever to grow back. And right now, it's just like, really? That's what I did to it? Damn, I suck. I should have it. I don't have a professional landscaper. I have some people I call once in a rare moon. Otherwise, we don't. We sort of moved to the school district because my son's autistic, and they have a great program here in Methacton.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, quite frankly, we sort of live in above our means, so we don't go out a lot. We just try to save our money as much as possible. So I'm always worried with contractors. If he said, oh, if he lives in this community, then it's probably this kind of price. It's just like, you know, we're not rich, and we'll be taking out loans and stuff to pay for this. We don't have it out of pocket. And obviously I don't think insurance covers it. So, you know, we want it to be a good job, but you know, I have a feeling that the previous owner kind of knew about this problem and said, well, it's time for us to retire. Let's just paint these windowsills and repaint up here and make it all look nice before we hightail it out of here.
Before you bought it, you didn't get an inspection. There's obviously never been a moisture inspection.
Home inspectors are. They can't catch everything.
No.
They'll like, oh, look at the stucco here. This was damaged at one point. It's like, well, what does that mean? They'll tell you, oh, you could be getting potential water damage back there. They're just, here's a little check mark, and you say, okay.
Just I noted. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, personally, if I had known that this was possibly an issue, I may have like walked around with a knife and a little ball peen hammer and tapped on stuff and see if any of this stuff came crashing down.
It's just a no. A lot of buyers don't think about it. Like, you know, I think they're getting a bit more educated on the Stucco issue now, but we feel it's just unfortunate for some people.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to other contractors and they're like, well, you know, the Stucco in the 1950s was so much better than it is now, and I'm just like, that does me no good whatsoever to know. Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
I know. And again, a lot of the times the correct components to do your house is already on the house. They were just installed incorrectly. So some houses we find lots of damage on. It's something as simple as the paper I talked to you about, the WRB. It's there, but it's not installed correctly. So when you install it, it has to have what's called a positive overlap. So this piece of paper goes on first, this goes on second. the water comes down. A lot of times we find the paper like this, negative overlaps.
Yeah,
So you know the water is getting in, but now it just comes in behind the next layer of paper. So silly stuff like that happens all the time. But
well,
what
it's
really
weird. I
happened
take
is,
such pride in my work. I can't understand how somebody who's in the construction business wouldn't take that kind of pride to do it correctly.
exactly. And what happens a lot of these houses, we believe, James, you take a builder, for example, he doesn't really have any employees. Most people on that job, you might have a couple of people in the office. Most people in your job is a subcontractor. So the window guy never spoke to the stucco guy. He never speaks to the flashing guy. So the paper guy put it on, then a different guy comes in to do the stucco. Somebody else put the windows in. They're not working cohesively together, and a lot of issues can happen. Even though the correct stuff's there, it's just not done right.
Yeah, well, that sounds exactly like what happened.
So when it comes to stucco, we'll concentrate on that. The stucco's off, the windows have been removed, been flashed, they've been reinstalled. Then we put on the first layer of paper. Now, when your house paper was put on, it was drilled with about 7,000 or 8,000 little staples. When the water penetrates through the stucco, it penetrates through those little staples and migrates towards the sheathing. When we install the first layer of paper, weather smart, we use self-sealing button cap staples. So as soon as they're applied, there's a plastic membrane washer on the staples so the water can never penetrate through it again. That's layer number one. This is for stucco. This house went back with siding, but I'll show you some of the areas of stucco. Some of this is not relevant to your job.
Okay.
There'll be stucco or stone in this area. On top of that yellow paper, you get 2 layers of tar paper. On top of the tar paper, you get a 1/2-inch drainage mat that I spoke about. So water gets in, it hits that drainage mat. It travels down the drainage mat and it gets out here at the weepscreed system. On top of that, then you have your wire, your scratch coat, your brown coat, and then you're going to have your stucco finish. You obviously have to match the rest of your neighbors.
Yeah. Now let me ask you a question.
Yep.
I know there's got to be drainage underneath it, and there's a little bit of an overhang that gets out, and I get all that. We had an issue 2 years ago where some yellow jackets, wasps, got in on the wall I share with my neighbor. And the neighbor, in his infinite wisdom, thought it'd be a good idea to take one of his t-shirts and stuff it up the hole to try to keep them from getting in there. Well, the trouble was they were already in there.
You dropped them in there?
Yeah, and so they were finding their way out. I'm down in my basement right now. I know it looks like a studio. It's because I'm a video guy.
Yeah, the background.
But so they were finding their way in and going over to the window over here and dying because they couldn't get out. And then, eventually I called somebody and they came in and they're like, no, don't plug it up. You want them to go through this poison we're shooting into the wall here, and that'll kill them and blah, blah, blah. So the reason I'm telling you this boring story is so that I just want to have some kind of reassurance that whatever the drainage is at the bottom, that bugs can't get in. Is it like a screen of some type where water can go through? But
it's not. The holes are in there for airflow. So they are. With your concrete foundation that every house has meets the wooden structure, we have a piece of flash in there, like a nice water shield, that where the wood meets the concrete. So that stops any bugs or termites ever getting in through the house in that area. Then the weepscreed system sits on top of that.
Okay. Yeah, because the way the system is now, it's like, I don't know, well, out here at least, I guess it's that way, but it's like a 2 or 3 inch gap off of, say, the slab out here, and then there's an overhang, and I think that little overhang is where the bugs were getting in. So
again, I haven't seen your house or anything, but I have no concerns about anything like that. When the stucco comes off, you're still going to have weepscreed systems. You're going to have step flashings where the roof line meets the shingles, but don't be worried about bugs or termites because that all gets sealed with ice and water shield. I'll try and show you an example of it. Just may not have so many in this picture. Aren't on yet.
Well, it's all right. I mean, if you say
what I'm trying to say is where the concrete meets the wood, I don't be worried about small stuff like that. It'll actually say in my proposal about stopping bugs and termites getting into the house.
All right, good. Yeah, the fact that it's happened once already just had me concerned. I was like, was this another deficiency by the initial builder and his subcontractors, or
Yeah,
it just over time did a piece fall out and they're like, oh, this looks like a good place to
anything like that. We're going to see more of your house than you'll ever have seen, because when the stucco comes off, we can look in. We'll see the framing, 2x6s, your soffits and fascia have to come off. So I have no issues with that. Your windows, everything has to come out, and they'll all be sealed and flash correctly. Now,
I should probably order some. I'm trying to decide if I want to put in new window shutters. So we have this really, I don't know why they picked maroon, but we have these plastic shutters that apparently you can only get from Home Depot, and they require a special kind of screw that I've had storms blow some of them off, so I've had to have them replaced once in a while. But it's very strange. I'm calling them screws. They're like plastic pegs, really.
Yeah.
Although they do have a version that does actually have a brass or something, metal screw, which I thought, why wasn't that seems to be better to me for some reason. Yeah. But pretty much all the windows on the one side have them. So I'm just going back and forth in my head if I should buy new ones, if these other ones are faded or not. But that's something we can talk about when you get here.
That's easy. That's simple stuff. We'd have the boys grab whatever color, like you have to match your neighborhood. So if you know that's for the fun, that's simple stuff. And I'll just get mounted. That would all get done.
Last time I had to order it, of course, it was during the pandemic, but it was like a 8-week lead time for these things. They don't keep them in stock apparently. So
okay,
kind of a pain for that. That's just for the screws. That's not even for the shutters themselves. So
that's not a big concern, James.
Okay,
really, because we'll
pick
them up. And if it takes a bit longer to get them done, somebody will come out and put them up after the stucco's done.
Yeah, no, but believe me, water damage and mold is my biggest concern about remediating and/or preventing. Hopefully, it's preventing, but I'm not that lucky.
Just on the porch at the front, the stucco was here before. Now this lady changed the design, showing back with the little stone. But the main thing I'm trying to show you here is, the water gets in behind the stone and stucco. But now when the water travels down, now it gets out here above the stoop, not down in behind it, causing all that damage before. So you have this 2 to 3 inch above the stoop, and water gets out at the weep screen. Anywhere on your house where there's a spigot or a light fixture or a hose bib, or electrical outlet, that gets flashed the same as a window. It get mounted on an AZAC block, and then the water gets out above it, not in behind it, because we don't want to drill through your paper system again, because the paper system's number one.
Okay. Yeah, there's 2 spigots, one in the front, one in the back, and there's a really strange, I guess it's a venting system for, well, it's either the hot water. No, what is that for? It's way over there. Why would it be over there? Well, you'll have to take a look. But yeah, I think once upon a time there was some kind of vent in the front, and again, I don't know why it's in the front, but it apparently went all the way up to the roof to vent.
Yeah.
And I think I had a plumber come in, and he just thought that was ridiculous and disconnected it, and then they turned it so it would go down. And I was just like, okay, yeah, no idea what's going on with that. Maybe it's for the furnace, but the furnace is like in the center of the basement, and it's not all the way in the front of the house. So maybe, like I said, I have no clue what the heck that's for and why it's over there. But
anything like that, we'll see, because the sheathing will be off at that point. And if we suggest anything that needs changed, we'll change it. But
well, whatever's to code. I just want to be up to code.
Of course. If you need extra electrical outlets or need your hose bib moved or anything like that, now's the time to start thinking about it, because it's really easy to do once the stucco's off.
Okay. Well, we have an outlet. Where are the outlets? Okay, there's one up. So behind me, you can't see it because of the thing is the door that goes outside. Above that, we have a wooden deck, which that's a little right now too.
You have a deck, do you?
Yeah, and it's on the. So I'm in the basement now. It's like a finished basement. The back door goes to outside. Above it, there's another sliding glass door. There's 2 of them. So there's that, and there's an outlet next to this one. There's an outlet next to that one. There's an outlet next to the front door. And yeah, honestly, we could probably use another outlet front because my wife loves to do Christmas decorations. She loves putting out the lights.
We sometimes add what's called a holiday package. So that's for all your Christmas lights and decorations and all. So
yeah, that would be great because right now it's all on one circuit. And unfortunately, it's the same circuit that our internet's on. So if I haven't wrapped up all of her crazy, way too long extended connections and it rains, boom, we lose our internet because it pops the same circuit. So
yeah,
that's a pain. So if we could, I don't know if there's room in my fuse box, but if there is, I would love to have a dedicated surface for just Christmas stuff, so it doesn't turn me off when I'm streaming my YouTube.
But the reason I mentioned about the deck has to get disconnected from your house. Your deck's connected what's known as to the ledger board. The deck ledger board is then connected to home. We need to disconnect the ledger board and flash it correctly and put it back on again or put a new one back on. We don't have to take away your whole deck. It's just something that you have to be aware of, and I'll highlight this.
I have a feeling you're going to have to take away the whole deck. Because quite frankly, it's at the point now where I think we need a new roof. I think we need new stucco. I think we need a new deck. It's just like, oh, isn't it nice this is all happening at the same time?
Yeah.
But hey, what are you going to do? That's life.
Do you want me to bid you for the roof as well as a separate line? A new roof?
You guys are a one-stop shop. It seems to me that if you do both at the same time, you're probably going to make most excellent of a flashing.
It's a lot easier to do everything now at the same time. Yeah,
absolutely.
I'll finish for a new roof. That's everything.
Yeah, really, quite frankly, we get a big storm and it's like, oh, look, there's another shingle that just fell out from nowhere.
Yep. So I can price that, no problem. The photo album that we're going through right now, if we were to start a job with you, James, we would create the same photo album for you. So all our guys have iPads. So if we take 40, 50, 60 pictures a day, you get those pictures instantly. So we're fully transparent as a company what's going on. If you're not there, at least you can see what's going on. And then at the end of the job, you have an album with about 2,000 pictures of before, during, and after the job.
Oh, trust me. I was just in an event for Paul Davis Restoration's franchise owners last week, and I must have taken about 3,500 pictures just of their events and their people alone. So trust me, I'm right in there when it comes to pictures.
All right, good man. So one more.
I can only get the president of the company not to blink when I take his picture. It'd be awesome, but
good. The last thing really is what happens now. I'll come out to your house. You're only up the street, about 10 minutes away. I needed to take some pictures and some measurements. I'll only be at that. You don't have to be there. I'll only be there for 15 minutes. And then I'll be able to send a proposal to you. My schedule's changing slightly this week, depending on when somebody else gets back to me. So I'll be out tomorrow morning or Friday this week. And then over the weekend.
For you, it's fine. I'm working from home these days anyway. So
okay. I'll shoot you an email. Okay. I'll shoot you an email before we get there. At the end of this call, I'm going to connect you with one of my window reps, and they're going to give you a window quote, because you want to have all your numbers together, because there's a good chance that your windows will have to get, you're going to need new windows for this house, because you're ready at that point. I hope
that's not including the 4 I just had put in, because they're very good windows. I understand they got to be popped out and reflashed. That's fine.
But that's the thing. The 4 that you replaced, I remember a conversation I said to you at the start, they might not be any use to me anymore, because the replacement windows, you need new construction windows, because your replacement windows that they give you, the 4 new windows, they only give you the sash. But when you buy a new window, it's got a nailing flange. Once I take your headers, the wood part of the window that you don't see, they give you the glass, but they don't give you the wooden part, and the wooden part could be rotted out. Now your replacement windows, the 4 that you bought, they won't fit the opening anymore. So just something to be aware of.
You can't fix that. So you're just saying the $3,500 we just spent on these windows is going to fly away?
Possibly, because you got replacement windows. Because the only reason I know they give you replacement windows is because they didn't cut your stucco and put in the windows. When you ordered the windows, they just give you the glass.
Well, no, I mean, it was inside whatever the hell the material is.
It's like a vinyl. It's clad vinyl or aluminum clad, but I need the wooden frame. You'll never ever see this part of the window. The wooden frame part might be bad, and if it's bad,
I don't even think it had a full wooden frame, to be honest with you. Because
it has to. You have to see it.
No, I think it was just on the back part, unless they put it in themselves, because let me see if I can show you that. Well, when they took out the old windows, it was literally open to the inside where that board was that we were talking about, particle board that was falling apart. And as far as I don't know if they put in new wood around that or if they just attached it on the back end to the inside, because it looked like it was
they could only install it into the old frame. That's the only way they could have done it.
Okay. All righty. Well, it is what it is.
I know you would never see it, but when you buy a new window, it's a new window to you. It is new, but in technical terms, it's not a new window. It's not a new construction window, because a new structural window has the frame and the flange. If it was, you would have seen a flange. Now you just see the glass and the aluminum clad, and then they put it in to the old frame. So again, I don't want to tell you what you want to hear. Just tell you what you need to hear. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll just be honest with you from the
get-go. No, that's fine. I get it.
So that's it. I'll shoot you an email tomorrow or Friday, James. I'll connect you with the window guy after this call, and we'll take it from there.
Okay.
Who's your home insurance company?
If there's any point that you need to come in, like if you want to go up inside and on the deck to look at anything.
Okay.
So just let me know. I'll let you know.
I'll knock the door. Who's your home insurance company?
Nationwide Mutual.
All right. They're not any good for this. 95% of insurance companies don't cover Stucco because the class is poor workmanship. If you told me you had somebody like Chubb, Amica, Ace, or Cincinnati, I could have put you in contact with a public adjuster we know, and he's getting our customers 80 or 90% of their money back. I'm not an insurance guy. I don't know what angle he's taking. I just know with Liberty Mutual, Nationwide, State Farm, he's had no success with. If it's somebody different, like those 5 I mentioned, I would have put you in touch with him, but he won't look at Nationwide.
Okay, well,
but I always ask
the question. I did speak to them. I thought they said something about I had $1,000 deductible, but
normally, but typically they won't cover Stucco because his class is poor workmanship.
Okay.
The other ones are covering it because he's coming at a different angle. I'm not an insurance guy, but
sure,
something to do with the wet insulation or changing the insulation, but no success with Nationwide or Liberty or anybody like that.
Okay.
But I just asked. But let me contact the window guy now, and then I'll reach out to you Thursday or Friday, James.
All righty, sounds good.
All right, thanks for your time.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Okay, bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.